Okay, it's Fat Tuesday, but we're going to go lean with a classic beef pot roast with winter veggies. And here we go. There's our chuck pot roast. It's a 3-pounder. It's about 3 inches thick. Beautiful piece of meat. Very easy seasoning. Bay leaf, garlic, salt, pepper, a little herb. All right, step one here. You're going to take your pot roast and very generously salt and pepper both sides. Okay, now this is a big hunk of meat, and I'm not going to add any extra salt or pepper to the stock we're going to braise this in. So you really got to season it well. I mean, it always looks like more than it really is on with the camera. Okay, now what we're going to do here is we're going to take a bouquet garni, which you know is just simply tied up. I got some fresh thyme and rosemary, a couple sprigs of each, 1 dried bay leaf, and the other flavoring here, we're going to take 3 garlic cloves. Now those aren't peeled. I'm just going to pop them. I'm just going to make a little incision. And as that beef braises, because it's going to cook for so many hours, all that delicious garlic flavor is going to leak out of there, and we'll pull those out later. Okay, let's sear the meat. So in my Le Creuset Dutch oven on very high heat, I put a couple tablespoons of vegetable oil, and I'm going to sear for probably 6-7 minutes on each side. I want a really nice crust, a nice brown. See that? So do that on both sides. All right. And again, don't be too quick with that. Make sure the pan's hot first. Then take it out, put it in a pan, and I want you to turn the heat down to low. Now you should still have the couple tablespoons of vegetable oil in there, plus a little bit of the beef fat has melted, and you're going to add 2 tablespoons of flour. All right. Now I like kind of a thin sauce with my pot roast. I don't like a really thick, heavy gravy. If you want it a little thicker, you can double that amount of flour right there, and you'll see what happens later. And I just want you to stir that into the hot oil, into the hot beef drippings and the little bit of vegetable oil we had in there. And just literally maybe 30-40 seconds, just till the flour disappears and is incorporated into that fat. Basically, we just made a real quick little roux. Now you're going to take 1 quart of beef stock or beef broth. I like the Kitchen Basics brand. It's all natural, blah, blah, blah. Very flavorful, but any good beef broth's going to work. And I'm not going to pour it all in. I'm going to start with about a 1/2 cup just to get that roux emulsified in there. And you know the old saying, I've said it many times on the site, cold stock, hot roux, no lumps, okay? So just drizzle that in, and when you see the bottom start to deglaze, and it looks like that roux is kind of dissolved into the stock, then you can go ahead and pour the whole quart in there. So that's 1 quart of beef broth. You're going to add your pot roast back in there. And, like I said, the flavoring is real simple here. This thing basically makes itself. So you're going to throw in your 3 cloves of garlic that we just pierced with a knife. We're going to throw in our bay leaf. All right, 1 big one should do it. And then your herb bouquet garni. And again, the string just makes it easier for us to pull out later on. All right, as soon as you see it start to come to a very gentle simmer, all right, I don't want this to boil. I want it to simmer on very low. You're going to cover it, and you're going to simmer it on low for 2 hours and 30 minutes, 2.5 hours. I know it sounds like a long time, but that is a thick piece of meat. In the meantime, you can trim up your veggies. I got parsnip, I got some celery, some carrots, an onion. I'll have all the ingredient amounts on the site. We're going to cut those in like 1-inch size pieces. All right, so here we go. 2.5 hours later, see how gently that was simmering? Now this, I'm going to stick a fork in here, and it's not done. The fork is going in, but it's certainly not tender. It's certainly not falling apart. This is going to need about another hour. But the last hour we're going to cook with the veggies. So what I did while that was simmering, I peeled and washed and trimmed up my veggies. And you see I have them in, maybe that's bigger than 1-inch chunks. But I chunked them. I'm going to dump them all in there. I got the parsnip, the carrot, the celery, the onion. There should be just enough liquid for them. Put the top back on. You're still on a simmer. And you're going to cook this for an hour or until the meat and veggies are tender. It might need a little, your meat might have been a little bigger. You might need a little more time. So anyway, my veggies were perfectly tender. The meat was fork tender, and I'm going to pull everything out of here. Now that little tool I'm using there is called a spider. very useful if you want to use a pair of tongs, but it's real nice for fishing stuff out of a stock like this. So I'm going to pull the meat out. I'm going to pull the veggies out. I'm just going to reserve those on the side, and I'm going to turn the heat up to high. Now that little bit of flour, that little bit of roux we made earlier, with the heat on high, I'm going to just reduce this by about half, okay? And what I'm looking for, I don't want a thick gravy, I just want a really rich, just slightly thickened broth, okay? So once that reduced by about half, I put just my veggies back in. Now what's going to happen here? The meat's resting, I got some foil on it. So by boiling the sauce here for a few minutes with the veggies, it's going to slightly thicken it a little more. The starch in the vegetables will actually thicken it. Any little small particles of the veggies that have fallen off the ends will kind of give the sauce a little more body. And I think that's just a nice way to finish. So here's how we're really going to finish. A couple slices, 7 or 8, slices of pot roast in a nice warm bowl, and you're just going to ladle over your aromatic winter braised vegetables. So healthy, so delicious, low carb. Do you see any potatoes? There's no potatoes. All right, just our parsnips, our carrot, our celery, and our onion, and then a nice ladle or two of that delicious, rich stock, gravy, sauce, whatever you want to call it. Unbelievable. This is so delicious. Now, okay, that juice is not going to sop up itself. So I need a couple slices of bread. That's why I didn't use potato. See, life's a compromise. But anyway, that is a delicious and easy and very, very healthy and inexpensive, by the way, almost end of winter dish. So I know spring training is starting. It's almost baseball season. So we're almost done with these winter dishes. But I hope you give that a try and enjoy.